Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are tackling a paradox that I think governs every moment of our lives. We've all been there, right?
Oh, definitely.
You're waiting for an important phone call, and 5 minutes feels like an
It
eternity.
stretches on forever.
But then you take this amazing 2-week trip, and the whole thing just vanishes. It's over in a painful blink. Why does that happen?
It's one of the biggest questions, really. Why does time feel so uneven when it's supposed to be this constant, uniform thing?
Right.
And the source material we're looking at today gets right into that. It makes the case that time isn't this fixed external thing at all. It's a wildly variable experience that's governed entirely by what's going on inside your own head.
So we're going deep on the difference between fixed physical time,
Yeah.
the clock on the wall that just keeps ticking, and this other thing, this flexible, almost magical psychological time.
And these insights come from a really fascinating discussion about those moments when, subjectively, time doesn't run at the right speed. So I think our mission today is pretty crucial. We need to go beyond just noticing this and actually get into the mechanics of it. Like, what's the internal dial that controls the speed? What determines the pace of our reality?
Because if we can figure that out,
If we can figure that out, the sources argue we gain a huge amount of control over the quality of our lives, not just the quantity of minutes.
Okay, let's unpack this. There's a great metaphor in the material that I think really helps frame this. It's about speed, but not physical speed.
The bee's wings.
The bee's wings, they move so fast you literally can't see them, but then the sail of a boat just drifts by, all lazy and leisurely.
It's the perfect analogy because the difference isn't the object, it's the processing speed you need to even perceive it. And that connects directly to our internal lives.
How so?
Well, the sources pose this question. How can one person live a single day so fully, so attentively, that it feels like a lifetime of depth, while another person lives, say, 80 years and never has a single truly present day?
That is a devastating thought. That you could live a full life on the calendar but feel like you're just rushing the whole time.
And the key insight here, the real pivot, is that you don't have to be physically moving for this to happen. You could be sitting perfectly still.
Right.
But the speed of your mind, the rate at which you process thoughts and feelings, that changes. And that one internal shift completely alters your experience of reality.
Okay, so that's where we get into the really interesting stuff.
Hmm.
Let's move from the idea to the evidence. The sources have some wild documented stories about this.
They really do. The most dramatic examples, they come from moments of extreme danger.
Like what?
Think of people who have fallen from a great height or, been in a really bad car crash.
Yeah.
They consistently report that their minds sped up.
Bet up how much?
Sometimes hundreds of times faster than normal. They'll recount a fall that maybe lasted 2 or 3 seconds, but they describe it like it was this incredibly detailed slow-motion movie.
Wow.
They see every tiny detail, the expression on someone's face, a crack in the pavement, everything.
So what's actually happening there? Is the brain just overclocking itself? Or is it just that we remember more because we're so focused?
The sources suggest it's a real temporary acceleration of our internal rhythm. When you're facing death, the survival instinct kicks in and the brain just goes into this hyper-alert state.
Massive data intake.
Massive data intake. It makes the external world seem to slow down, which gives you this perceived extra time to react.
We see a version of that in sports too, right? In peak performance.
Absolutely. The classic example is the professional baseball player. He's facing a fastball coming at, 100 miles an hour?
160 kilometers an hour, yeah.
Yeah.
For us, that's just a white blur.
A total blur. But for that elite athlete, they often perceive that ball as if it were almost standing still in front of them.
So they've trained their perception to speed up.
Exactly. Their internal processing has hit this state of intentional hyperfocus. It gives them what feels like extra microseconds to adjust their swing. The physical time doesn't change, but their ability to interact with it does.
That's just incredible. Bending reality with your mind. But the sources also look at more pathological shifts, right?
Yes, and these are so illustrative. They show how disconnected our internal motor can be from our physical body. For example, observations of people with advanced Parkinson's disease, they can switch just dramatically from being completely frozen like a statue, unable to move,
The complete opposite.
to suddenly moving at a speed that a normal person can't even visually track. It's this jarring, sudden acceleration of that internal rhythm that just punches through the physical block.
And you can get the reverse effect too. A radical slowdown.
For sure. The sources mention people under the influence of certain substances who feel that, taking a single step or lighting a match seems to last for hours.
So their internal clock is just crawling.
Crawling at a snail's pace compared to the outside world, the feeling of duration just becomes overwhelming.
Okay, but the most hopeful examples are the ones about intentional control.
That's the goal state, right? The sources talk about advanced meditators who can, just through pure concentration, experience the depth and the emotional processing of an entire morning in just 10 minutes.
They've learned to compress time.
They've learned to compress the sensation of time by choosing a super efficient, super present internal rhythm.
And that intentional control is everything. So let's just nail this down for everyone listening. The foundational distinction here.
It's simple, but it's so profound. Physical time is fixed. The clock ticks. But psychological time is totally flexible. It stretches and it contracts a bit like your own breath.
So if our inner life is what dictates whether time flies or crawls, what's the master rule here?
The rule is this, and it's a huge one. We do not live in time. We live in the rhythm of our own perception.
Okay, unpack that. The rhythm of our own perception.
Physical time is just the riverbank. Your perception is the current you're swimming in. And as soon as you change the speed of that perception, the whole world's pacing changes right along with it.
So let's talk about what creates that rhythm. It sounds complex.
It's actually all about attention and novelty. If your perception is sluggish, so your mind is bored or waiting for something, you're not absorbing new information.
Right.
So time stretches out. It feels incredibly long because you're processing so little data per second that the seconds just pile up painfully.
And the opposite happens when we're excited or engaged.
Absolutely. When your mind speeds up because you're in a state of flow or deep joy, you are processing a massive amount of experience per second.
So time flies.
It just vanishes, runs like the wind because your brain is so busy living that it doesn't bother to mark the passage of the seconds.
Which explains that slow motion panic effect. The highest possible mental acceleration.
That's it. Panic forces the mind to accelerate sharply, and that's what creates that dramatic shift where everything around you seems to slow down. It's the ultimate example of what the sources call the reflection principle.
Which is?
Your outer experience of time is only a reflection of the speed of your inner life.
That's powerful. Because it means this is a choice. We are the ones deciding the speed of time, not the other way around. We're not victims of the clock.
We're the conductors. And that's the difference between someone who lives unconsciously versus someone who lives consciously.
Okay, describe the unconscious person.
The unconscious person is just dominated by time, always chasing deadlines, always late, always rushing. Or they're stuck in the past with regret, or in the future with anxiety. For them, time is the enemy. It's a constant stress.
But the conscious person, they change that whole relationship.
Completely. The person who lives with wisdom, they see time expand. They aren't dictated by the clock because their internal clock is stable and it's present. They get that the depth of the experience matters more than the duration.
So this brings us to what the sources call the four guiding truths. These seem to really lay out the consequences of our internal speed.
They do. They lay out the stakes perfectly. Okay, so first, when the mind is chaotic and anxious, time is the enemy. It's just constant pressure.
And the flip side of that.
Second, when the mind is clear and focused, time is your friend. You work with the moments you have. You don't feel overwhelmed.
Makes sense. What's number 3?
Third, when you're living unconsciously, just on autopilot, you are simply dragged along by whatever is happening. You're a boat with no sail.
And the fourth truth must be the goal then.
The fourth is the goal state. When you are living present, you control the speed of your own life. You're an active participant. You choose how to move through your moments.
This changes everything. We're not trying to kill time or save time. We're trying to inhabit time.
To maximize the depth of it.
Okay, so that's the wisdom. How do we do it? What's the practical application? How do we find the right speed for ourselves?
I love this part because the material is so actionable here. It gives 3 simple daily practices to start tuning your internal speed.
All right, let's have them. What's the first one?
It's called the 1 minute of presence. And it's an instruction, not a suggestion. You just stop completely for 1 minute and you truly feel your breath.
That's it.
That's it. Just the sensation of your chest rising and falling. That physical anchor halts the internal race and it resets your mind's rhythm.
You're creating a gap in the momentum.
You're creating a gap where awareness can enter.
Okay.
In that little gap, time expands just enough to give you the control back.
Okay, a 1 minute pause. What's the second practice?
The second one is the 1 moment of slowing down. And this one is about reintroducing novelty.
Now,
You choose one everyday thing, your coffee cup, the sound of the birds outside, whatever, and you look at it as if you were seeing it for the very first time.
so you strip away the label.
You strip away the familiarity. You can't just label it cup and move on. You force your mind to slow down and actually process the fresh sensory input. Familiarity is the enemy of time depth.
Because your brain is too efficient. It just files it away as a routine and the moment is gone.
Exactly. When you force yourself to see it for the first time, you demand a slower, more attentive rhythm. The moment feels richer, and therefore it feels longer.
I love that. Okay, and the third practice.
The third is the diagnostic tool. It's a crucial self-inquiry. At least once a day, you have to ask yourself honestly, is my mind running or am I living?
Oof, that's a powerful question.
It forces you to check in.
Mhm.
If your mind is running, you're probably unconscious, just driven by stuff. If you're living, you're actually present in the moment you occupy.
And if we actually do these things,
Yeah.
the result is pretty profound, isn't it? Time no longer just passes over you.
It flows with you, and that is the difference between a shallow life and a deep one. The sources have this really stark final comparison.
Go on.
They say some 60-year-olds have only really lived about 6 years of conscious experience,
Because the rest was just autopilot.
just being dragged along by habit and distraction. Meanwhile, some 25-year-olds, people who practice this kind of presence, have lived the depth of an entire rich life.
Wow.
The difference isn't the number of candles on the cake. It's about being conscious, choosing to live, not just exist.
That's it right there. It's not time that changes. It is you changing how you are present with time.
And that knowledge is the tool. You become aware of your own internal speed and you can start to modulate it, feeling rushed. Introduce a gap, feeling bored. Engage with novelty.
You make your own time more worth living. You make every moment count towards depth, not just duration.
And the sources even suggest that by sharing this idea, by helping one other person shift their perspective, you can make their time feel more valuable too. You can bring them back to their own rhythm.
That's a really powerful thought to leave our listeners with. So as you go about the rest of your day today, ask yourself this: what is one specific moment, I don't care how mundane it is, that you will choose to experience as if you are seeing it or feeling it for the very first time?